The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which time any business affecting their interest is discussed and acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act and the Board of Education Policy 0162, the Board of Education and the Borough of Bound Brook has caused notice of this meeting to be posted in the board office and at the Bound Brook High School and mailed or faxed to the Courier News, Bound Brook Borough Clerk, South Bound Brook Board of Education, and any person who has requested individual notice and paid the required fee. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bell. Here. Wilson. Martinez. Morris.
Here.
Mr. Smaro. Mr. Tomaselli.
Here.
Mr. Valaire.
Here.
Mr. Zupko.
Here.
And Mr. Fazio.
Yeah. All right, I just wanted to start this meeting with addressing a couple of concerns. Just give me a second to bring up. We're going to move the executive session to the beginning of the meeting, right after President's comments, because there's things that we need to discuss prior to the meeting. And then we will go into public comments. A couple of things. Let's see, what do I need again? All right, I know that over the last couple of months, we have been asked many questions in board meetings, and I just wanted to read to you what is proper protocol for public participation, because I think even within the board, sometimes we have a disagreement of what our role is sitting here, so I'm just gonna read from you the New Jersey School Boards Association as concerned public participation. Comments from citizens generally go through the chair at the board meetings, and that would be me, usually the board president. Boards use the public comment period as an opportunity to listen to citizens' concerns, but not to debate issues or enter into a question and answer session or a cross-examination between the public and individual members. Be aware that not all issues brought before a board meeting will be resolved that evening. Boards may respond to public comment by seeking additional information or by delegating the authority to investigate the issue to the superintendent or his or her designee. While public education can be an emotional issue, and understandably so, the board will strive to maintain a certain level of decorum at the meetings. Many meetings are recorded and televised, which is what we are doing there. So I think it's fair to say that, you know, when there are questions that are simple enough to answer, we certainly don't mind answering those types of questions, but when there are questions that concern, you know, real legitimate thought, we need that time to have that thought. And we are not going to just respond off the top of our heads. I think it's something that we need to discuss, and that's our right to do so. And I wouldn't want to give an answer that is incorrect because we didn't have time to talk about it. There are times when we are asked questions concerning personnel or student issues or things that where any discussion of those issues would identify either a particular employee, and that does include Dr. Gallagher as well, or a particular student. The answer to that is we can't talk about it ever. It is in our ethics to not discuss any student issues or personnel issues. I know someone was asking about, someone had contacted the board members via email. That's fine, as long as you expect that we are going to follow the same rules that we would at a meeting, which is we will take in the information. The only way you're going to get an answer is through me. And the only answer I can give you really is because I'm one of a board of 10, is that if there's anything that the board has currently acted upon, I can direct you to that information of what was acted upon, but I cannot give you information about things that have not either been discussed as a board or acted upon, because I don't have the right to give my opinion. I am one of 10. So it's not because we don't hear it or we don't read it or we're not concerned, but don't expect a full detailed answer to all questions that are asked by email either, because just like at a board meeting, take it as a way of informing us of issues and then giving us a chance to talk as a board and discuss it and act upon it appropriately. As far as a couple of the questions that were, I am going to address them ahead of time. Someone had asked about the Hanover research for faculty and staff. Though most of it is completed, not every faculty member that was supposed to be part of that research has, and that is what we are waiting for. Someone, they had asked about the step, and I do want to ask the board, as far as trying to move the process of getting the next superintendent. I mean, I'm going to recommend that we just use New Jersey school boards because that is the most economical thing. Just have, and we can do that by, if we agree on that tonight, we can start that process immediately. In which case, then we can have Dr. Gallagher reach out to them to let them know that we're in search of a superintendent, and then they will contact us as far as what we, what the time frame is and what we need to do going forward. Is everyone okay with using New Jersey school boards?
Yes.
Okay, so Dr. Gallagher, if you could reach out to them concerning that search. Another thing that has been coming up, someone asked about the superintendent doing work while on a leave, and we did reach out to the lawyer at that point to just clarify questions, so I will let you know that that Mr. Merriman did get back to us concerning that, and basically, when you're out on a medical leave, that medical leave there is to protect the employee from retaliation or expectations of administrators or someone expecting you to do work while you're on your leave. It is there also so that if you are on leave, that you can't come to the district, so that if something were to happen to you medically while you're here, that that you were here and that you shouldn't be. That doesn't apply to the superintendent. He is the employer. He's the one at the top, right? And there are certain things that Dr. Gallagher, and only Dr. Gallagher, could do. He had to come in to sign insurance coverages. He had to come in to sign payroll, and he is literally the only person that can do that. So if that's what the question is concerning, that is the answer to that. As far as tenure, we said that before. Dr. Gallagher, at the end of his year, he had right to tenure. We're going to talk about that, but as far as there is a difference between saying something on social media and putting it into writing with the Human Resources Department, actual, identifiable, charges. And this board's not coming back to emails in that capacity, unsigned, undocumented. That's just not what we're allowed to do. And we don't do the investigating. And when anything that needs to be, would go to Human Resources, and then they would handle it going forward. I believe that's all I have as far as those things are concerned. All right. We are going to go into executive at the beginning, because like I said, there are things that we need to discuss that need to be acted upon prior to continuing the meeting, and we are going into executive under the following.
1, 2, 4, 7, 8.
Do I have to read them all?
No, say 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so we're going under, I just want to make sure. We're going in under 1, 2, 4, 7, and 8. Can I get a motion to go into executive?
Motion.
Mr. Tomaselli, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Zelko, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we shall At this, are you ready, Tom?
Yep.
At this time, we have superintendent's report.
All right, you're done with your president's comment?
Yep.
Okay. First off, I'd like to, what?
No, we're not.
We're up to my conference. First off, I'd like to thank Mike Simon for his years of service to the district. I wish him well in the future. He's done a great job for us. I'd like to thank all the retirees that are retiring this year for their service to the district and all their hard work they put in. I also like to thank Stacey Young and the LGBTQ Club for taking on selling t-shirts that need to change so they can get their speaker, Moms for Hugs, to come in and talk about an inclusive environment. So I'd like to thank Stacey. And at this point in time, I had a presentation for the Safe to in-person instruction continuity plan of service. So I'm going to go right through this. Before I do, understand that this is required by the state, and each area was limited to about 1,000 characters. So there's not a whole lot of wording in this because we were limited in what we could respond. Maintaining a health and safety environment, obviously this is for A through H. So a universal and corrective wearing of masks, we did that this past year. We had a number of people in each building working with our students to make sure they were wearing the mask correctly and making sure we got the latest masks for students. Physical distancing, obviously we did physical distancing this year. We stayed at 6 feet. Again, for next year, we'll be following the advice from CDC, State Health Department, local health departments. Hand washing, respiratory etiquette, again, we went through all of that this year. It was part of our reopening plan. We had a number of people working with our kids and our staff for that. Cleaning the facilities, including improving ventilation system. I think we were extremely lucky that we did a lot of HVAC projects prior to this pandemic, and most of our buildings were in a very good situation when it came to the HVAC systems as well as filtration and things like that. We did buy electric static sprayers. I put down 2, but I believe we have about 6 now throughout the district that we use every night, cleaning all the classrooms and buildings and things like that. And we will continue to do that. And with our ESSER monies that are coming in right now, it looks like we are going to, I'm going to recommend that we go with replacing unit ventilators in Lamont, Annex, Lafayette, and Small School. It is a pricey project, but right now we have window air conditioners and things like that in those places. We used to have unit ventilators in most of the special. I think Annex is the only building that never had unit ventilators, so that was a little bit more cost there. But we're going to do that, and then we're also going to tie in the cafeteria project over at Lafayette for this as well, because we need to separate the gym and the cafeteria and the new kitchen to make sure that we're compliant with a lot of social distancing and things like that. Contact tracing, obviously we follow all the guidelines for contact tracing. All those practices will still be in for next year. The only thing I probably will do this year is investigate hiring a consult counseling group for environmental issues for the district. Just have an outside agency make sure that we're following all the best practices for environmental issues. Diagnostic screening, we went through that all this year again. We had our kiosks at the beginning of the building. We had our forms of parents going forward. We'll continue to do all those things. Again, I think that those practices may stay in place for quite some time. Again, we will also be following all state health guidelines and CDC guidelines as that comes out. Efforts to vaccinate, we've put out as many opportunities for staff to get vaccinated. We've also done that to students. I think in my absence, there was the possibility of a student clinic. So I'm pretty sure that probably it happened sometime while I was out. So hopefully we have a number of students that are also vaccinated coming into this next school district. Appropriate accommodations for students with disability, we met all of those accommodations, any of those requests that came in. We dealt with on an individual basis. And again, same thing, each year is moving forward. The district plans to continue to do what we did this past year when it comes to environmental issues. Obviously, with the lifting of the pandemic and some of the in-person requirements coming up, we're going to do our best to make sure everybody is comfortable coming back into the building with their IEPs and make sure everybody's healthy and safe. At this point in time, we are open to public comment on this. And again, I'm going to ask Mrs. Fisher to break down the comments on this, just so we can add it to the plan about our reopening plan that's going to be put forth. Again, it's very limited in scope of what we can actually put in. It was limited to 1,000 characters. So we did the best we could to just stay within our road back plan and obviously lean heavily on guidance from the CDC as well as the health department moving forward as to whether or not we're going to be wearing masks, social distancing, and things like that.
All right, I'm going to start with a couple of questions first, and then certainly go second. How are we going to handle, because you're talking about accommodations, what if there are accommodations that are not, because we're assuming that we're not going to have a virtual component to that. How do we handle accommodating different, students that may require not coming back? I mean, how does that?
Well, again, I think the governor's been clear that he expects everybody to be coming back to school in September. So really, at this moment in time, I don't think there's an option for a virtual platform at all. I think that's definitely off the table unless something changes from the governor's office. However, if we have students that need certain accommodations, obviously, as long as we have medical documentation, we will do our best to, accommodate where we can.
Okay, then my other question is, even this year, if there's a case where, there's an exposure, and then there's quarantining, since if there's not a virtual component, once again, how do you deal with a 2-week hiatus to quarantine both for faculty as well as students?
Well, again, I think those are questions that we sent up to the Department of Education to get some clarification on. We haven't gotten answers back. But obviously, at this point in time, we would have to exclude them for 2 weeks if they stay the way they are.
I think it's 8 to 10 days now.
Well, there's different variations depending on how the exposure happened, where the exposure happened, things like that. So, we're still stuck with those guidelines. As far as I know, they're not changing. We did ask questions, especially when it comes to staff and things like that. So we did ask, those questions because obviously, in theory, I guess, the point is if we have an extended snow day, we can pop to virtual next year and do virtual schooling, depending on the climate weather. Question really becomes can that be used for an outbreak of some kind without an executive order? The way you say it right now, we would need an executive order to do that. So we've asked those questions up to the state, and obviously we got a response.
Yeah, because obviously, you wouldn't want students to have to be out for 2 full weeks and not receiving any.
Right.
As
Well,
well
if they're going to be out for 2 weeks,
8 to 10 days.
well, the reality is that's by state law. If they're going to be out on 5 days, we have to provide instruction.
Right, so.
But then the problem becomes if they're quarantined, how do you do instruction?
Right, all right, so basically, we can't really answer that until we get clarification from the
Do it
state.
after the fact.
But current teachers, we have the technology, the teachers could record what they're doing, right? On the smartbook they have. So couldn't we just record in case there's a student out, we could record?
Yeah, but if the student's out, it would be the teacher's out as well.
Yeah, well, and where you going?
Yeah.
Dominic, I think the problem really is that I want to try and get everything back to normal as much as possible next year. Teaching done a fantastic job this year, navigating it in person in a hybrid environment. It's very taxing on that. I really would like to avoid any additional
Yeah,
things.
I just meant they just record what they did and send it to the kid after, not.
It may be a little bit more complicated than just butting it button and saying report.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just
Yeah, I would want to record it every day. And then what percentage of our staff is vaccinated? Do we have a percentage?
75% down?
75?
I can confirm it.
About 75? All right, thank you. Does anyone else on the board have any questions?
Yeah, really quick. I don't really know how all this works. How set in stone is this from now? I mean, things have been changing so quickly. I'm more specifically thinking about wearing of masks. I know some districts in our area are saying they're kind of optional, or they're not going to require them. So how rapidly can that change? I guess.
That can change tomorrow.
Okay.
I mean, if the governor says we're doing X, or he tells the Commissioner of Education, you're gonna do X and mandate X, we're doing whatever that is.
Yeah, we're not.
We don't really have that particular luxury.
Well, I guess I'm saying if another district in our area is saying they're not gonna wear masks,
That's on them.
They can't.
what's the where's the governor on this? Is he saying it can be, it's optional at this point? Is it-
It's,
No.
Okay.
it's optional at this point according to the governor.
Okay.
Going into September.
Gotcha.
However, again, as we've gone through this pandemic, and I don't blame anybody, and I don't blame anybody at the state level, because it's new for everybody, and it's been a very taxing, pandemic, and a lot of different things that popped up that nobody really anticipated, things like that. If there was one thing that I said that, I think the state could have done a little bit better of a job, is a little bit more coordination between, say, the governor's office, the health department, and, the Department of Education, so we can get more timely information, so we can act a little bit sooner than we did. As you all know, we got information at the last second. It's like, hey, tomorrow you're doing X. It's like, really? You're telling us today, tomorrow we're doing X. So
Right.
it really doesn't lend to us any real time to, get notifications out and do things like that, and get people aware of where this is coming from and what's going on.
Is there anyone else on the board that has any questions? Okay, just state your name, re-ask your question.
Victoria Giada, is this on?
No.
Press the, it'll turn, there you go.
Victoria Giada, 244 Chestnut Street. So just continuing on that point, I don't think,
There's a sign-in sheet.
I did,
Sign it.
She did.
I signed.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just continuing on that point, so you say that currently it's optional, so what is the plan for September if it continues as optional?
Again, from our standpoint, I would come back to the board in over the summer, and I would ask them what would their preference be. Should we require everybody to wear masks, or should we allow it to be people who are vaccinated do not need to wear masks, and unvaccinated people would have to wear masks? I think that the bigger concern really is the lower grades, with the littler kids. I think there's a lot there that we need to discuss, and probably at some point in time, we'll probably reconvene our road back committee at some point in time over the summer to discuss some of the intricacies of the masks and a few other items, and come out with what we feel is best for our particular population and district.
Okay, and my other question is about lunch. I don't see anything on the plan about how you're gonna accommodate for lunches.
Right now, we can accommodate lunches everywhere except for the high school. So we've already put plans in place to make sure that we can feed all of our kids with social distancing requirements that we have with dividers. So we have enough tables and dividers to make sure we have lunch in every single building we have in the district, with the exception of the high school. The high school is a little bit of a different animal. I've been talking to Mr. Smith about this. We have a couple different options on the table. Some of which I need to talk to the board, and unfortunately I haven't been able to do that. But we're gonna talk to the board, pretty quickly through committees, make some decisions on that for the high school, and then come up with whether we're gonna have a secondary lunch site of some kind or some other alternatives for lunches here at the high school. But the requirement right now is to open up full day, so we have to figure it out.
So what are the plans for the other schools?
Right now, they can accommodate as is, so.
So
we're gonna
like
have
lunch
regular
in the lunchroom or lunch in their classroom?
No, they can have it in the lunchroom. We have enough space to do the physical distancing with the dividers and everything, our normal lunch schedule at every building with the exception of the high school for next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, at this point, we are now, we're so with that.
All right, so there's no committee reports.
So we have no
Obviously, we have to- you are open to the
We are
public.
open to the public for agenda items only, so if you have any questions or concerns that are on the agenda, you can come forward. Seeing none, I need a motion.
We have
Oh, do we
none
have-
online, so we are good.
All right, so can I get a motion for the approval of minutes from 6/7? Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Tom, Mr. Battleair, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Tomaselli, any questions or comments? Roll call.
Mr. Wall.
Yes.
Ms. Morris.
Yes.
Mr. Tomaselli.
Yes.
Mr. Battleair.
Yes.
Mr. Zucco.
Yes.
Yes. 6.1, resolve the superintendent recommends for approval the resolutions as outlined in personnel resolutions under district and high school 6.2 through 6.13. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Tomaselli, may I have a second? Second. Ms. Morris, any questions or comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, on 6/4, the effective date is 7/1/21 to 6/30/21. That needs to be changed to 22.
All right, I did want to say as well as, I'm sorry to see Ms. Shabby go. I think that she was an asset to the district, and I wish her well in her new job.
I need to abstain from 6.11 also.
Noted.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valera,
Yes.
Mr. Zupko,
Yes.
Yes, actually, now I have a question I forgot to ask. Sorry. Ms. Lunick is now no longer gonna be the music teacher, so do we have, are we looking for new, because Mr. Shepherd also?
I can't talk about personnel.
No, but I'm saying, no, I don't mean, are we looking for a music teacher?
I can't answer that question at this time.
Okay, all right. 7, resolve the superintendent recommends for approval the resolutions as outlined in personnel resolutions under middle and elementary school, 7.2 to 7.4. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Zupko, second.
Second.
Mr. Thomaselli, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question about 7.3. First of all, are nurses on the step?
Nurses are on the step guide, but we also have the sidebar agreement that they are now going to an 11-month pay scale. So
Okay,
we would adjust what was on the salary guide and add 1/10 of the salary to it, so that was reflected here.
now, this particular person, is this her first employment as a school nurse?
Yes.
And is she coming in at the entry grade?
Entry grade, as in,
On the step guide, is she?
she is not. She has nursing experience and she's an RN.
Okay.
Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valera,
Abstain.
Mr. Zupko,
Yes.
Yes.
Can I make one more comment
Yeah.
about nurses? Nursing right now, throughout the state of prevailing Somerset County, is very difficult to fill positions. So again, I'm not gonna be involved in this, but I really think that the board should consider, doing something with the nurses, whether it's a separate, pay scale or salary guide for nurses, just because nursing right now is getting to be a very, very difficult, position to fill for a number of school districts.
Would that be a negotiable thing?
Absolutely negotiable. I haven't talked to the association.
Want to open up the negotiation? We'd be more than happy to talk about it.
8.1, resolve the Bound Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in education resolutions under district and high school, 8.2 through 8.5. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Mar, second.
Second.
Mr. Thomaselli, any questions or comments? I'm glad to see they're doing a senior trip tomorrow.
Actually,
Oh,
I
to
believe,
Wednesday?
wait, I believe it's postponed to Wednesday,
Till
right, with the
Wednesday.
weather?
Yes.
Okay, or Wednesday. I hope they have good weather. Make sure there was some. I'm serious, I don't, all right. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valera,
Yes.
Mr. Zupko,
Yes.
Mr. Plaza.
Yes. 9.1, resolve the Bound Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in special services resolutions 9.2. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Thomaselli, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Zupko, any questions or comments? Can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bell,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Valera,
Abstain.
Mr. Zupko,
Yes.
Mr. Plaza.
Yes. 10.1, resolve the Bound Board of Education approves the resolutions as outlined in financial resolutions 10.2 through 10.120. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Morris, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Thomaselli, any questions or comments? I guess my question was, with all these, how has, financially, as far as insurance and stuff, has it gone up? Has what's going on?
All right, so it's a little hard to explain, but I'll do the best I can. And if you have specific questions, please feel free to ask. So on workman's comp, and we have some, it's always a 3-year average of what you have. So we have some higher claims that have fell off. So that's down a little bit. However, our cyber insurance is gone through the roof, obviously. So that's going to be a little bit of an issue. And our property insurance and liability is up a little bit as well. Healthcare, I believe, is also up, but not as bad as we had initially thought. Mike, 12%?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was 12% that's up. And then liability, and then obviously auto and things like that, that's pretty much the same for the buses and all the trucks and vehicles and things like that.
Any other questions? Hearing none, can I get a roll call?
Mr. Bale?
Yes.
Ms. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Valera?
Yes, with an abstention of 10.17 to 10.20.
Mr. Zucco?
Yes.
Mr. Fazio?
Yes.
Mike, can you do section 9?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did none. I know there's, I've been known to skip it once in a while. Does anyone have any other matters to come before the board? They would like to.
So with that discussion of having a Facebook post for the board, we can't do that because of what?
You mean the board putting a Facebook page?
Yeah.
No, they recommend that everything is done through the district.
Yeah.
Because once again, we are a board, so we are not to respond as individuals. We're supposed to respond as a unified thing. We can have discussions, and obviously when we're sitting here on the dais, we can have a discussion. It needs to be done in public. And then if something were voted on, then it would wind up on the district website anyway. So that's really the only information we're allowed to give up is anything that has been moved in public. We're not allowed to discuss things that are, we put out agendas, there are things that are put out. These are the things we are discussing, but those discussions are private until we move something in the form of a motion.
And then isn't it also an issue if there's too many people commenting on a situation because they're the forum?
Yeah, we're not, as board members, we can't, if we were on, say, a site together and we were all there and people started, we were all part of whatever group, that group could be considered a forum. So we were told by, to not have, we can be, we closed groups in particular. We were told to steer clear of.
I just wanted to say that I attended the senior awards,
Yay.
and very nice job, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
And it was so nice to see Mr. Cruzel had my daughter won it, which I was very excited. but I was so excited for him to be honored in that way, and for my daughter to be the first recipient, because Dave and I both had him in high school, and so it was very nice, and his daughter was very kind. And all the seniors did a great job.
Yeah, I had a question. It was a couple of months ago, I think we had, it was brought up about the stipend changing for the robotics. Did
Yeah, that's part
that
of the
ever
negotiation.
get resolved? Okay,
Yeah,
that's where we left it. I wasn't sure where that ended up.
We have to, it has to be done.
It's a negotiable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We're more than happy to open negotiations.
We are going to put it as a negotiable item.
It's just a salad.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, at this point, it is open to public for discussion. Oh, wait, sorry, so we have two online. We have two online, and then we will.
Carol O'Reilly?
No. No, Christine Bader, 569 Marion Street. I'm gonna say, I want to, she said I won't start, but I want to start by saying thank you to the Board of Education, teachers and staff for making it possible for my children to attend school in person this past year. I can't tell you how important it was. My family appreciates your sacrifice. Question number 1, will the kids be wearing masks in September? I realize it may be too soon, but I have the faith that you will make the right decision for the kids. Question number 2. Does Bound School District have any intention of implementing the theory of critical rate? And if so, will there be an option to opt out? And we have, since we have lost so much time in the past 15 months, I find it imperative to focus on our children's education. I believe there should be an option, and I support all of those who would like to take advantage of it. I also support those who do not. I appreciate in advance the time you will take considering this matter. Best regards, Christine Bader.
Would you like to handle that?
Well, again, I think we discussed the math
The
issue,
math.
so I think that we've answered that. When it comes to the critical race theory, right now, unless there's some mandate from the state of New Jersey for us to teach any of that, that is not part of our curriculum.
The second comment is from Amanda Rosario Colon. I was a previous student of Bound Brook, and I wanted to briefly say that although I was a difficult student, Dr. Gallagher has always been nice to me. He was always fair, and I never felt like he looked down on me for getting into trouble that I was in at the time. I will always be thankful for his kindness. And I'm sorry, Mike, that was 324 Evergreen Avenue.
That's it online?
That's it on.
Okay, at time, anyone in the public that wants to come, just make sure you sign the book and state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Emery Giannato. I live at 151 West High Street. At the beginning of the meeting, Mr. Badia, you said about using school boards to find a replacement. Are there any other options you or the board is considering or looking into, or is that the only one?
Like I said, we had talked about other options and we felt that going with the school board, which was the most fiscally responsible, was the.
And have you checked, like,
Yes, we've talked to other places.
okay, and also, do you think that Dr. Gallagher making the phone call is the best option
Well,
for the board?
Well, yeah, because all he's gonna do is just inform them that we need to start the process and then the rest of it will go through me.
Okay, thank you, just
It
one
all-
clarification.
It also requires a video and some things at the time.
Yeah, there's financial. So
Okay.
so he's the financial.
Just trying to learn the
Yeah,
steps.
but yeah, the steps themselves will be, the process then will run through the board.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Just state your name.
Josephine Leite, 121 Cherry Ave. I would like to start by reading two statements made by former staff members regarding our ongoing problem with the superintendent. Since the attorney made it clear last meeting that we need to have these documented, we're putting these statements together and I will be emailing them directly to you as well. These meetings are also recorded, therefore that alone is a way of these allegations being documented. First statement. Dear Board of Education members, some of you may know me and some of you may not. My name is Lauren Atlas. I am a former Bound Brook High School physical education and driver education teacher. I taught in the district for 5 years. At the end of last school year, I moved across the country. I can honestly say that even if I had not moved, I would have left the district, even if I was unable to find a different district. After my last year teaching in Bound Brook, I decided to leave teaching after 14 years. Bound Brook, specifically the board and upper administration, has ruined and broken me. Last year, I had a student, possibly more than one, make memes about me. The student took my professional coaching picture and put it on a meme that attacked my sexuality. Not only was my sexuality attacked, but I was slandered and libeled as well. The principal and superintendent were notified about the memes. The student admitted to it and was suspended. After finding out that the student would be suspended from wrestling in states, The parents of that student went to the board members to fight it. While I was told by the superintendent that he believed another student made it, there was no investigation. While this student was suspended, students would harass me by chanting at me every time they saw me. This came without any penalties. They were athletes. Without holding a board meeting or a quorum, the board overturned the suspension just in time for the student to be allowed to wrestle in states. At the time, I was coaching at a Division I Catholic school and was unable to fight what was happening for fear of it getting to the press and being let go just because of the slander and libel. I ended up in therapy due to the anxiety that I felt walking into that building every single day. I spoke to the superintendent about a medical leave of absence due to this and was told that if I did that, it would be unpaid. I couldn't afford to not work. So I continued to go to work and then cry in my office or the counselor's office down in Guidance. I even hired a lawyer, but couldn't do anything because of my coaching position. I went to the board meeting and sat and listened. I listened to the board president state that they overturned the suspension because they were told to do so by the superintendent. The superintendent and the board let me down. They allowed me to be attacked. They never protected me. I was nervous about even writing this letter because I was scared that I would be retaliated against. I live across the country and I'm still scared. My fiance was worried about me writing this letter because she has seen me break down numerous times. I tried to apply for a teaching job and had an anxiety attack due to this district. Something needs to change. I shouldn't be scared of retaliation. I shouldn't get anxiety attacks for a job that I love and wanted to do for the rest of my life. I substituted a couple of times this year and cried before going in. This is not healthy. I wrote this letter because I do not want others to go through what I went through. This is a culture problem that starts at the top and feeds it to the board, the classrooms, and some of the athletic teams. I hope you listen and really take a good hard look at yourselves and everything that is going on. You might not care that you allowed my career and passion to be taken away from me, but maybe you will stop someone else's passion and career from being taken away from them. Sincerely, Lauren Atlas. The next statement was read by Marilyn Orguella back in 2019. It references the climate created by Dr. Gallagher, and at the time, the board also chose to ignore her concerns. Good evening. My name is Marilyn Orguella, and I am a first-year school social worker. I am placed in Community Middle School as the case manager for all students under special education, in addition to some sixth grade students at Smalley Elementary School. I am also a member of the child study team at the high school as a bilingual social worker. In addition, I conduct risk assessments with guidance department throughout district, provide counseling and assist in translation. I would like to express my concerns for this district. I officially resigned on April 24th and received a letter of non-renewal on April 26th. When reviewing my observations and administrative feedback, I was surprised I was placed on a non-renewal list. I have never been reprimanded except for the verbal statement I received from Dr. Gallagher on January 28, 2019, where he instructed me to not abide by individualized educational programs by refusing to see students for counseling. Given that this is a violation of a state document and violation to my code of ethics as a licensed social worker, I do not consider this a reprimand, but rather a disagreement between administration and the duties I was hired to fulfill. Dr. Gallagher called this meeting with a special education teacher, building administrators, behavior specialist, school social worker, and a director of special services. I would like to add that in this meeting, I was not only yelled at, but I was also told to leave the meeting without explaining my side of the story. Today, I would like to clarify that I told this special education teacher to release an illegal hold he had on a student with medical and learning disability who was placed in prone position. This is an example of what I have done to avoid legal implications that could affect Bound. I am concerned for the students I am leaving behind, but I was also concerned about losing my license. I am certified and licensed by the state of New Jersey. I have worked diligently and demonstrated professional knowledge in this field. The reason I stand here today is so that the Board of Education is made aware of the turnover rate in special services. I cannot speak for those before me, but I was instructed to not follow individualized educational programs for students in behavioral disabilities classroom. I am leaving because I refuse to follow a directive that would put me out of compliance with these IEPs. This district, like any, should follow these programs to ensure that students are educated appropriately. There are other statements that we will be sharing from this point forward as well. Now, for the 2 emails I sent to you all, to which the response was the proper place for all discussions must be in a public forum and not through emails and/or social media. First, I'd like to remind you that social media is a public forum and the community is entitled to share their concerns, opinions, and stories as they seem fit. There's nothing wrong with informing others of what is happening in our schools, especially if it's concerning our children and community. My first email. Given that the common procedure regarding medical leave for any Bound Brook District employee is to remain on leave without working or coming into their place of work, I would like to ask you, in particular the board president, how is it that Dr. Gallagher is permitted to continue working while on his medical leave? Is this medical leave paid? There have been teachers on leave without pay, so I was wondering if it's a case-to-case basis. How is that defined? How is it decided? For him to be on this leave, the board had to approve it, correct? Yet he has not only been physically present at his workplace, but also putting together an extensive list of accomplishments in form of a 6-page PDF that was sent out to parents. I'm curious how these double standards are followed, are allowed. Do as I say, but not as I do. Hopefully this email was received, since I had to guess everyone's email. They're not on the website. Organization and transparency come from the top. My second email was, at the last Board of Education meeting, the attorney present said we needed to have Dr. Gallagher's wrongdoings documented. The meetings are recorded and broadcast on YouTube. Does this not count as being documented? Teachers, staff, students, and parents have been at Board of Education meetings in different instances, speaking up about concerns related to the superintendent's behavior, outbursts, bullying, and overall poor workplace environment. How many documented events need to come forward until there is an investigation in place? Why hasn't the board placed Dr. Gallagher on leave until these allegations are looked into? Is there a magic number we're waiting on? Or are we waiting for an uproar from the community? The clock is ticking. Lastly, at one of the previous Board of Education meetings, the community was told that the new superintendent is the one that places Dr. Gallagher in a different position within the district. Is the new superintendent obligated to ask the board for advice on this issue? If so, what card is the board playing? Against the community or making Dr. Gallagher excommunicado? These are serious questions and concerns, and hopefully the board sees the urgency in the matter. The community is watching and waiting for a timely reply. Silence in the face of the injustice is complicity with the oppressor.
Thank you. Would you like to address the questions she concerned, the legal questions?
So with respect to personnel matters involving leaves of absence, Dr. Gallagher is a personnel person as well, so we can't go into details. I can tell you generally, there are different types of leaves of absence that exist. Every school staff member under Title 18A, the education statutes, has sick leave, which they're entitled to use for personal illness, care of a family member, and there's a third one, I believe, related to quarantines and contagious diseases. That's a paid leave of absence that a staff member would be able to use. And it essentially protects them, if that's what they're using, from retaliation and to protect their salary while they're absent as a result of that. Nothing in the law would prohibit them from working while sick. They wouldn't be getting compensated twice for that. They'd be using their sick time. But if, for example, a staff member has a broken leg and is physically unable to come to work for whatever reason, they still might be able to do some work remotely, whether a teacher or whatnot. There's other types of medical leaves that are available under federal and state laws, things like the Family Medical Leave Act, that you may be familiar with, again, addressing illnesses of an individual. There's family leave for situations involving pregnancy and whatnot that also are generally unpaid. Same thing applies though, just because you're on a leave, there's no strict prohibition that would prohibit you from being able to possibly do some work here and there.
Can I ask you a question regarding that? Sorry to interrupt you. But since you did bring up the pregnancy, so if a teacher had a child and would like to come in to their workplace and, kind of share the good news that they had their child and show their child to their colleagues, can they do that?
It would be a case-by-case basis, and then there's other concerns in terms of liability, coming on as president if you're currently considered to be disabled, so I can't say.
So why is it case by case?
Because it would depend on the circumstances.
What do you mean?
It would depend on the circumstances.
Would they come in with their kid? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm really being honest. Like, what do you mean on the circumstances? Because typically if I had a child, I want to come into school and show my child to my friend, colleagues. What kind of circumstances?
It's a hypothetical that I can't.
I'm just asking because this has happened in this district and they couldn't come in.
I don't know if there's anything that would entitle them to come in. Again, if it's something, if a policy decision that would have to be made.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is that it?
The other question was,
Trying to think of.
I thought you had addressed everything else up front.
Yeah.
In fairness, in terms of the, I guess I'll call it the statements that you've read from other staff members, from the perspective of me, and I haven't been to board meetings previously, so I don't know what you're referencing.
I guess there's always different, I'm assuming you're the lawyer, always different lawyers here, so I guess I do have to keep repeating these.
Frankly, what you've repeated here today, in my view, is not actionable by the board whatsoever. You're referencing things that were addressed at that time. If there was an issue, the proper recourse would be for the victim of the incident to address it. There's appeal.
They're out of state.
Excuse me?
They're out of state.
Well, that's exactly right. These are things that you're talking about that happened a year plus ago. The recourse for that individual would have been to file an appeal to the Commissioner of Education. I believe you referenced that there was some reference to them retaining counsel, and obviously nothing came from that. But certainly my advice to the board would be not to respond to anything along those lines where there's the threat of litigation being issued. But again, if there's a specific issue that you think your child has been bullied, or you think that you've been bullied, or anyone who's present thinks that they've been bullied, the proper recourse would be to bring that to attention as it occurs so that it can be addressed appropriately.
But it has in the past. There have been people that have suffered and have come up, and I'm talking about this again, not sure why, but.
There's been nothing in writing in formal complaints, that's what.
What about people standing up here, the actual victims?
No,
They've been
have
here.
to- They would have to do it in writing.
Okay, so we have them in writing, affidavit signed, right? Okay, so who
That's
we
not
have
a,
to say?
that's not a.
No, I'm not saying that
notarized
this is, I'm not saying that this is.
But I'm just saying that's, we can't act until those things are in place.
Okay, so once you have received those affidavits, are you going
And
to
that would be something
investigate?
that would go.
How many do you need?
Everyone that would come in a.
Is one enough?
Would have to.
For you to investigate?
Listen, you can't just, we're getting back into the mud where this is not we've heard you, we've given the answer, and so
No, but
send in the.
nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. We're not getting answers from you guys. I'm sorry.
We cannot speak about personnel,
I understand that.
so that's it.
But my
If
issue
there's
is
something
the
that goes to
allegations.
human resources, then it goes to human resources.
Human resources.
And it would have to go through them before it came to us.
There's a
Sorry?
human resources person.
Yes, we have a human resources person, so anyone that wants to
If you
step
wanna
forward.
speak, please come up.
No. Yeah, don't speak from the back, please. I have no problem coming. If someone wants to go, and it can't be you, because you're not a teacher and you don't work in this district, but if anyone in this district wants to lodge a complaint, they would have to bring it to Human Resources, and then through the Human Resources, they would have to then, substantiate and investigate. And
Okay.
before that, it can't come to the board before that. We can't do anything until that
But
process.
you guys have said in the past that you're not aware of certain circumstances, so we're presenting it to you.
No,
And as a community member, I'm
I can
concerned, so
take
I
those
think
in,
I can
but
come
I
up
can't
here.
respond to them.
That's fine, but now today it's HR, right? So today they have to get them through HR.
Yes,
They have
we
to submit it through HR.
That is
So
correct.
is that the final?
If
Okay.
you were to direct something, the board president, her
I
role would be
forward
to
it.
pass it along.
Right.
Okay, so I can send it, I can email it to you, the
Sign it.
person can email it to you, and then it goes through HR.
That is correct.
Okay, and are they going to have some type of confirmation that it was received by HR?
I don't have, I mean,
Can they? Because how do we know that these things are actually getting there? Sorry,
Can they-
I'm
I guess-
trustable.
Taryn, you can then just email them that it's been received,
Again.
just that they've received it.
I'm not following what are we saying, the letters you just read, you plan on forwarding?
Yes, then if there's a formal accusation that comes through me and sent to HR, I will inform her to just let you know, whoever the person is that comes forward, that they have at least received.
I
And
mentioned
that'd be
two
something
people.
between the person making the complaint and HR.
Correct.
Members of the public would not be informed.
Right,
The
but,
staff member made a complaint.
right, but
Person making the complaint.
I'm not sure if this is your first time listening about this, but, these teachers are scared of retaliation. That's why they've reached out to the community, because the superintendent has been famous for calling their jobs where they are right now and making certain,
And again, I.
comments about them. So this is why the community is involved, and I think we can do that. I mean, last time we checked.
Your allegations, I don't know whether that's true or not, the staff.
Okay, there we go. That's why we have the investigation.
If the staff member brings forward a complaint to Human Resources, whether it's the board president or directly to the Human Resources staff, there's laws in place that will protect that. If there is some issue that the legal matter between the staff member and the district, again, hearsay statements from staff members from long ago, the board is in no position to respond to those. So I understand you said your piece, but I don't know what you're looking for back from the board.
We're looking for the board to investigate.
And I.
We've said this
For the- for
quite
the
a few times already.
If that staff member you got a statement for wants to direct something to Human
Okay, well, this is the first time we're hearing that it has to go through HR.
That's not true.
Absolutely not.
That is not true.
Has anyone else here heard that it has to go through
Every staff
HR?
member is
All right.
compliant with copies of board policy.
Not a problem, though. We've heard you loud and clear, because last time we heard it had to be documented. It's documented, it's gonna go through HR. Hopefully then, we can have an investigation in place, because I'm not gonna allow my children to be in a school district where there's minimum respect and where there's bullying place coming from leaders. All right, thank you.
Can I say something?
No. Nope. Nope. Tell me. Is there anyone else that? Just make sure you sign the book as well.
Got it this time.
Okay, is this in the right spot?
Yep,
Yeah, you're good.
just state your name for the record.
My name is Anne Marie Wolford, and I work in the board office. I first want to say I'm very sorry about the experience that was just stated. However, I don't know the specifics of that, and I can totally say that my experience and that of many others has been completely different. I'm here tonight.
Just speak a little louder.
Oh, I'm here tonight because I feel compelled to share my thoughts, disappointment, and concern regarding the current situation. Over the years, Brownbrook has become my home. My colleagues have become my family. It saddens and angers me that those family members have come under attack by a very small, albeit very local group. For a while now, I've been listening to so-called concerns of this very small group. Not once have I heard a dispute to Dr. Gallagher's accomplishments, as well as the administrative team he has put together. The reason? It's pretty hard to dispute increased student success, professional development opportunities that were non-existent prior to his leadership, facilities that give students and staff the space and tools they need, and pride inbound work by students that, again, didn't exist prior to his leadership. Most of all, and I have to wonder if this may be the problem, there is accountability now among administration and staff. I will tell you again, prior to Dr. Gallagher's leadership, there were many administrators as well as staff members who were pretty much being in the trough, counting the days until their retirement and boosting their salaries so that the retirement pay is at its max. That's it. No concern for students, no concern for success, and no concern for achievement. Dr. Gallagher changed that. And while he may have held his staff more accountable than they had ever been before, he offered them the tools and professional development they needed to succeed. They have more support now than they ever would have under the previous administration. I could go on and on regarding the positive impact Dr. Gallagher has had on all of the students in this district. But you already know that because Dr. Gallagher has met and exceeded all of the goals you have set for him. So since the very small, angry group can't dispute success, they resort to personal attacks. My personal opinion, and I will state my opinion, is that this group has an agenda and a personal vendetta against Dr. Gallagher. I have watched this group over the past several board meetings. The requests they made, such as wanting the board to post updates on social media, which is illegal, such as wanting the board to post updates, removing Dr. Gallagher on their baseless allegations of hearsay from other former teachers, suggesting this all shows me that this group is ill-informed and ignorant of school governance and law. They by no way, shape, or form represent the majority of parents and students in this district. 10 people with signs outside of a board meeting do not represent the constituents that you are obligated.
Can you
to
please
serve.
like keep the bickering down so that we can
Have
actually
the same
respect
respect
people?
that they have for you.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Let her
Be
speak. and
respectful
let
of her
say
time.
Everyone in the public has a chance. It's her time to speak. No one was bickering when the person before was. So let's let her speak and let her have her say. You can laugh wherever later.
Thank you.
Sorry.
My hope is that you can somehow work something out with Dr. Gallagher and his contract. My fear is that if you can't, it will be extremely difficult to bring this district back. Any candidate for replacement will undoubtedly see this group and its antics. Who in their right mind would pursue a position where they could not make decisions that might go against this group without having their reputations destroyed? While I applaud your desire to include the community in your decision, I implore you to revisit the extent of the inclusion. It is imperative to have community input into the direction they would like to see, but to have the community involved in the selection and interview process is a disaster waiting to happen. How many of you and how many people in this room have gotten to pick their own boss? As I have said to you before, I know what it's like to be sitting in those chairs. It's not easy, and it's even harder with social media. But I urge you to stand up for the districts, for their students, and I urge you to work with Dr. Gallagher on this contract. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. We've done executive session, so now we will, 15.1, resolve about the Board of Education, the approval of the resolutions as outlined in approval of 10 cases under middle and elementary school. 15.2, can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Thomasello, second.
Second.
Mr. Ballard, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaselli?
Yes.
Mr. Valier?
Abstain.
Mr. Zucco?
Yes.
Mr. Valier?
Yes. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Mr. Thomasello, second.
Second.
Mr. Valier, all in favor?
Aye.
I think we're all right.
Yeah, was that a cicada?